A bunker company quoted you $40,000. Maybe it was 60. Maybe it was the underground model with the air filtration and the blast door, and the salesman let the number hang in the air like it was the only thing standing between your family and a mushroom cloud. And you did the math everyone does. You don't have $40,000 buried in the backyard. You don't have a backyard. You live on the 4th floor. So you decided you were one of the people who simply wouldn't make it. That decision was based on a lie. Not a small one, a profitable one. Because the single action that prevents the most deaths after a nuclear detonation costs nothing. It requires no bunker, no land, no blast door, no 5-figure invoice. It requires that you walk to the right room in the building you are already standing in, and that you stay there. The government modeled this, they put a number on it, and the number is the reason the bunker industry never says it out loud. Welcome to the Survival Research. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up the protocols the preparedness industry priced out of your reach. Let me show you what they sold you and what actually keeps you alive. The bunker industry runs on one emotion: helplessness. A buried concrete shelter runs $40,000 to $60,000 installed, and the high-end models climb past $100,000. The pitch is always the same. The world ends, and only the people who paid survive. But here is what the salesman leaves out. A federal analysis modeled a 10-kiloton detonation over a major United States city. If everyone in the fallout zone stayed outside for the first 12 hours, the model projected 280,000 casualties from radiation. If those same people simply walked into an ordinary building with thick walls and waited, the model projected 245,000 of those exposures prevented. Read that again. The action that saved 250,000 people was not a bunker. It was a basement, a center room, a stairwell. The protection did not come from money. It came from mass and from time. The bunker industry cannot sell you mass and time because you already own them. So they sell you fear instead, wrapped in a $40,000 invoice. Stop. If you only remember 3 things from this video, remember these. There's a way to read the fallout cloud with your own eyes and know whether you have hours or only minutes. There's a method to turn an ordinary apartment hallway into a shelter that blocks the vast majority of the radiation, using only objects you already own. And there is a protocol for the exact moment it becomes safe to step outside, so you do not walk out into an invisible dose that the decay curve had not yet erased. It is all in the suppressed file, step by step. Scan the QR code on your screen or hit the first link in the description and get it now. Let me keep going. Here's the science the industry buries, because it is the science that makes the bunker unnecessary for most of you. Fallout is not a gas. It is not a cloud that seeps under your door. Fallout is dirt, pulverized ground sucked up into the fireball, fused with radioactive particles and dropped back to Earth as something that looks like gray sand or fine ash. It obeys gravity. It lands on roofs, on streets, on car hoods. It does not chase you down a hallway. And the radiation it gives off decays faster than almost anything else in nature. There is a rule that emergency planners have used for decades. It is called the 7-10 rule. For every 7-fold increase in time after the blast, the radiation level drops by a factor of 10. Let me put real numbers on that. Say the radiation outside is at a dangerous level 1 hour after the detonation. 7 hours later, it has fallen to 1/10 of that. 49 hours later, roughly 2 days, it has fallen to 1/100th. If you have made it this far, you already understand more about surviving a nuclear event than 99% of the people who walked past that bunker booth at the Prepper Expo. Subscribe and send this to the person who told you that you needed to buy land to survive. And remember, the full protocol is in the documentation. The link is in the description. Now stay with me, because the next part is the one that keeps you alive in an apartment. 2 weeks out, roughly 343 hours, the level has fallen to 1,000th of where it started. This is the entire reason sheltering works. You're not waiting for the radiation to go away forever, you are waiting out the spike. The most violent decay happens in the first hours and the first 2 days. That window is where the deaths happen, and it is also the window you can survive indoors. So, the protocol is built around time, and the first measure of time is the cloud itself. When a ground detonation happens, you will generally have 10 minutes or more before fallout begins to land in your area. That is your window to get inside and to get to the right place inside. If you are caught outside when the flash comes, drop, face down, hands under your body. Behind anything solid, a curb, a wall, a vehicle, the blast wave passes in seconds. When it does, you move. You go into the nearest sturdy building and you do not stop on the ground floor. Now the question that the bunker industry made, you forget you could answer. Where in the building? Radiation is blocked by one thing above all others: mass. Dense material between your body and the contaminated surfaces outside. The professionals measure this with a number called a protection factor. A protection factor of 10 means you receive 1/10 of the dose you would standing in the open. A factor of 100 means 1/100th. A wood frame house gives you almost nothing on the upper floors. A protection factor of 2, maybe 3, The walls are too thin, and the fallout on the roof is right above your head. But the same house has a basement, and the basement center, surrounded by earth on the outside walls, and the whole structure overhead can reach a protection factor of 10 to 40. Now apply that to where most of you actually live, the apartment. A large multi-story building made of brick or concrete is, against all the fear they sold you, one of the better shelters in a city. The mass of the building is enormous. Every floor above you and below you is a slab of dense material. Every wall between you and the exterior is another layer. The single worst place in that building is any room with an exterior wall and a window. The single best place is an interior room or a hallway in the middle of the structure on a middle floor. Middle floor matters for a specific reason. The fallout lands on the roof and it lands on the ground around the building. On the top floor, you're too close to the roof contamination. On the ground floor, you're too close to the dust piling up outside the walls. In the middle, with floors above absorbing the roof and floors below lifting you off the street, you sit in the most shielded volume the building has to offer. For free. Now you build. This is the part the $40,000 shelter was supposed to do for you, and you are going to do it in 20 minutes with what is in your apartment. You pick your interior room or the center of a windowless hallway, then you surround yourself with mass. Every dense object you own becomes shielding. Full water containers, boxes of books, the refrigerator if you can position around it, bags of soil from the balcony planters, stacked furniture filled with anything heavy, a stack of books 12 inches thick shields you about as well as several inches of concrete. 12 inches of packed earth or sand does the same. You're not building a wall for looks. You're building a box of mass around the space where your body will sit and sleep for the next several days. Sides, and where you can manage it, overhead. And here is the multiplier that makes this work in a place with no yard and no budget. Every single layer you add multiplies the protection. Mass does not add, it compounds. One layer of halving material cuts the dose in half. A second layer cuts it in half again, to 1/4. 10 layers take you to roughly 1,000th. That is why a pile of household objects in the right room is not a sad substitute for a bunker. It is the same physics the bunker uses, applied to the building you already paid for. Let me connect the whole picture, because every piece of this protocol follows the same pattern. The cloud gives you a free clock, the 710 rule gives you a free deadline, the building gives you free mass, the household objects give you a free multiplier. None of it required land. None of it required a contractor. None of it required the invoice that convinced you that you and your family were simply going to be among the dead. The bunker industry did not lie about the threat. The threat is real. They lied about the price of surviving it. Now I have to be honest about the limits, because anyone who tells you a hallway full of books is a magic force field is selling you the same fear in the other direction. This protocol is for fallout, for people outside the immediate blast zone. Nothing in your apartment saves you if you're at ground zero of the detonation itself. That is physics, not preparation. Sealing your room helps with the dust, but gamma radiation passes through small gaps, so the mass matters more than the tape. You will need water you already stored because the tap may be contaminated and boiling does not remove radioactive particles, and you do not decide on your own when it is safe to walk out. You stay tuned. A battery or hand crank radio still works when the power and the phones do not, and the official broadcasts will use the same decay math to tell you when the window opens. The general floor is this. The first 24 hours you do not leave for anything short of fire or collapse. Through 48 hours, only a true emergency. Past that, short necessary trips become survivable, and the days after that open the door wider. That is the 96-hour spine of it. 4 days that decide everything built on mass you already own, and a clock the bomb itself starts for you. So here is the choice, and it is simpler than the salesman wanted it to be. You can keep believing that survival was a product, that it lived behind a blast door you could never afford, that the fourth floor apartment was a death sentence. Or you can learn the room, build the box, watch the clock, and walk out the other side of the worst day in the history of your city. I pinned the 3 things you cannot afford to get wrong in the comment below. The cloud reading, the apartment box, and the exact exit window. Read them before you scroll away. Because the people who died in every model were not the ones without bunkers. They were the ones who stayed outside, or who left too early, or who picked the wrong room because nobody ever taught them there was a right one. You were never helpless. You were just never told where to stand. The bunker was never the thing that saved people. The people who knew which room to walk into. That was always the thing. If this changed how you see that 4th floor apartment, subscribe and share it with the person who told you survival had a price tag. Send it to the one who walked away from that bunker booth feeling like they had already lost. They had not. They just needed the file. The next one is the protocol the water industry hates.